Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. My name is Melissa Joyce and thank you so much for joining me today. Today I am so excited to review a new product, a new foundation, and that is the new Milk Matte Foundation, specifically the Blur Liquid Matte Foundation. I went on a foundation buying spree, so not only did I get this from Sephora and also the new Sephora brand stick foundation, which I'm going to be testing, I also got the two different kinds of ordinary foundations now that they were back in stock. I have all of those at my place. I just thought I would start with this one, but basically look forward to seeing a foundation review video probably every week for at least the next month. I am warning you now, this is going to be a longer video. I am going to talk a bit about the company Milk because I've never used or reviewed any of their products before. I'm going to talk about the product. I'm going to show you some swatches of this against other foundations in my collection. I'm going to show you a first impression day that I did, but then because I want my views to be more balanced than just using it for the first time, which was very important this time, I have to say, I also have been using it since then on a number of different occasions with different primers and different powders in different weather, different things I was doing all day, so that I could give you some real thorough thoughts on what I think of this foundation. If you just can't bear to hear me talking anymore, feel free to look in the description bar below. I have put timestamps for everything in the video so that you can skip to whatever part you are interested in hearing. And with that all being said, let's get into talking about Milk makeup. Milk makeup, for some reason, is always seen as this really cool brand. I haven't followed them on Instagram or social media very much necessarily, so I really only heard about them seeing other people's reviews. None of the Sephoras near me, as far as I know here in Canada, carry their products, so I only really started to see them when people started reviewing them online. And the reviews have been a little mixed. Like, I saw a lot of people were sent the Blur stick. Some people liked it, some people not so much, but I don't see it making an appearance that much anymore. I watched one or two reviews on their like marshmallow cream eyeshadows, and those seem to have some issues with them. I see a lot of people love the packaging and love the brand name and all the social media around it and how cool it seems, but I don't see a lot of people continuously using the products in their videos. Milk Makeup is a very recent brand. It was only launched in 2016 and launched directly into Sephora, as far as I understand, which is unique for a brand to be able to do. They talk about having multi-use products designed for an on-the-go lifestyle with high-tech ingredients without all the bad stuff. They are cruelty-free, which is important to note. They have hydrating ingredients in their products. They say that you can do easy, quick application that lets you change in a cab or look good in just a few minutes. There are a lot of co-founders of Milk Makeup. It was originally co-founded by Mazdak Rassi, also by Zahana Roberts, who is a beauty and fashion editor with E! News. Creative director Georgie Grenville, product developer and COO Diana Ruth. All these people came together. But what is important to note about this is this was not a collaboration that happened from a group that had made makeup or cosmetics before. Milk Studios is a photo studio and creative agency in New York that has been around for a number of years. They decided that they wanted to get into products. They decided makeup would be a good thing to do. They didn't have necessarily the knowledge on their team. They did bring in somebody who had worked in cosmetics and makeup quite a bit before. This isn't necessarily unique. If you'd watched my Smashbox primer video, Smashbox was also a company that started out as a studio, photography studio, video studio, and ended up doing their own makeup because they had people there to test on. Much the same idea with Milk. However, Milk is much more about the brand and branding. That is what they do, is create hype around products. And so they're coming into this not necessarily from the background of creating cosmetics. They're coming into it from, we can create hype, we can create promotions, we are good at products. Let's decide to make makeup. There's an interesting article I read in businessoffashion.com that I will link to down below that talks about their success. They talked about having products that were able to be applied quickly. They talked about how they didn't go out and look at what other makeup was doing and create their own version of it. They started completely fresh. While in some ways I think that is good, I think there also might be some bumps that they've hit along the road, maybe because they didn't have cosmetic knowledge in their background. They did want the packaging to be unisex, not very girly or anything like that. And apparently some of the earlier packaging, the silver packaging, was infused with some kind of antibacterial agent. So if you were doing your makeup, I guess in a bar or something like that, or out, you know, before you went into a restaurant and you dropped anything on the ground, that it would be antimicrobial, antibacterial. They have a much wider range of products than I actually realized that they did. They're all more expensive. So they are sold in Sephora and apparently also Urban Outfitters. Here in Canada, I personally can only find it online. I don't know if they are carried in maybe some of the larger Sephoras in Canada, but not near me. But apparently in the States, they are in Sephoras and they are in Urban Outfitters. And they are Sephora level prices, but even a little bit high for Sephora. It's not going to be the most affordable thing you can find there. They do have pretty much the entire range of makeup that you could want, and also skincare such as cleansers, micellar wipes, things like that. They have some applicator type products. They have nail polishes, like spray nail polishes. I didn't know about that. So there's a lot more there in the Milk products than I knew that there was. I will also say they did have a little bit of controversy when they came out with their first foundation type product. I think it was their Sunshine Serum. It was the more lightweight foundation, where they did not have a super great range of colors, especially into the deeper range of skin tones. I'm going to stop there with talking about the company because there is just so much to say, and I think that's probably a good place to stop and a little bit of an introduction to the brand. So let's talk about this product specifically. This is the Milk Makeup Blur Liquid. This is a matte foundation, and I have it out of the container here, but this is how it originally came packaged when it came. There is some additional information packaged on the outside box, and it does give you the shade at the end. Mine is here in Ivory. You do get 1 fluid ounce of foundation, which is standard for liquid foundations. If you're buying this in the States, it's going to be $40 US through Sephora, which is on the pricey side. I'm pretty sure through Sephora I did see $40 US. In Canada, this is going to set you back $48 before tax. So this is a $50 foundation, which I believe makes this the most expensive foundation in my collection so far. I'm a little bit more of a drugstore girl, so this is different for me. This does come in 16 shades, so you know, it's got a decent shade range, not the best I've ever seen, but pretty good. They do suggest using this with their dab and blend applicator, which is one of those silicone applicators. I thought we had all decided about 6 months ago that those sucked and nobody likes using them. So I'm surprised that a brand that is so marketed on being sort of on trend and cool came out with that nobody seems to really be jazzed up about late in the game. So the claims on this product is that Blur's got you covered. From blurring pores and fine lines to providing weightless full coverage, Blur Liquid Matte Foundation does it all. It is vegan, which is important to note, oil-free, silicone-free, glides right onto skin with the dab and blend applicator, not using that, for a smooth matte finish that looks and feels light as air. Plus, it features airless, no-drip packaging to minimize air exposure and eliminate spills, allowing your foundation to stay fresh, the color stay true, and all of it to stay put. As always, this product is cruelty-free. This is made in the USA, and I think that is everything I have to say. So I'm going to insert some swatches here so you can see the color of this against other foundations in my collection to help you perhaps make some shade match decisions. And then I will get into showing you the first impressions part of this video. So the first shade here is the Milk Makeup Matte Foundation Blur Liquid in Ivory. This here is L'Oreal True Match in N2. This is L'Oreal True Match in C2. This is Rimmel Matte BB Cream in Light. And this is the e.l.f. BB Cream in Light. I do apologize for how dark it is. It's morning, but it's a really stormy morning outside, so I'm just not getting any natural light in. I'm doing this all from my ring lights and other lights. This is in the shade Ivory, and I'm just gonna pop this open. Comes in this box, which seems a little unnecessary, but I guess when you're paying 50 bucks or something, they feel it's necessary to give you lots of packaging. Oh, and it was stuck with sticky stuff to the bottom. Now it does say to shake well to activate blurring microspheres, and then apply 1 or 2 drops to fingertips or the dab and blend applicator, which I'm not going to use. I'm also not going to use my fingers. I'll apply it to my face with my fingers, but I'm going to use half with a brush and half with a sponge. Also, this doesn't feel like it's shaking around a lot, but I don't know about that activating microspheres stuff anyway. So because the container's full, it's not really shaking around. Okay. It says it has like innovative technology in the cap. It just looks like a squeezy tube to me. So let's hope for the right shade match. It's very liquidy. I'm gonna start there. That may be way too much. And I'll start blending with the brush first. I'm using this Crown flat brush because it's the only foundation brush I've ever liked the look of foundation application with. So I feel like this gives it the best shot, and I feel like I put on way too much now that I see it. That is thick. How is that so thick when it was so liquidy going on? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've put on far too much. Whoa. Note to self, oh my god. Like, first of all, I am way not ivory. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm gonna go in with using the sponge, not because this is necessarily bad, but because the sponge will take away some of the coverage, hopefully. And this is just way too much that I've put on. So if you use this, note that it is high coverage, which I was not expecting for it saying it was a blur liquid. You'll see I'm sort of wiping a bit because it tends to be that dabbing puts product on and wiping will sort of take product away. It's actually not looking as crazy bad on my face on this side right now as it is on the camera. It has made me significantly lighter, but not as much as it's looking like. So let's try on this side with sponge. Wow, I look like a mime right now. I don't look that much like that in real life as I do in the camera right now because I look pale as a ghost in the camera. I don't look so bad in real life. But let me tell you how this is sitting. It's not looking cakey anywhere. I don't see it doing a lot of blurring, but I also don't see it sort of like settling into my pores or anything. I wonder if I can give you... There, like this ring light makes everything a lot brighter, which I need for things showing up, but I think because it is such a dark day, let me see if I can just put the curtains up and get a little bit of natural light in. I know that makes it very dark in here, but I just wanted to show you how there's a lot of light reflecting off of the ring light when I have it on that's making it look a lot whiter than it actually looks in real life. So it feels super lightweight. I don't feel like I have anything cakey on my skin at all. I do feel like you don't need a lot for it to go a long way. And it's feeling still sort of tacky. Not tacky, that's not right, but like moisturizing. Like it feels like there is a slip to it still. So I think what I'm gonna do now is get ready for my day, put on the rest of my makeup, and then come back and show you what that looks like and let you know how the makeup went on over top of it before I get on with my day of first impression. Hey guys, so I've got the rest of my makeup on. Again, I do apologize for the lighting. I was pretty happy with how everything went on top of it. Now, it didn't really feel, I let it sit for about 10 minutes or so, and it didn't feel like it was really setting down to feel powdery or dry. So I did end up setting it with a setting powder. so that I'd be able to blend other products on top of it without it being too sticky. So I did use my Bare Minerals Translucent Powder Duo. I mostly went in with the matte side all over my face, but then did a little bit of the glow just on my cheekbones. I then went in with some bronzer from the Highlight and Contour palette, the IBY one, because I wanted to warm my face up a little bit. This is a little bit on the light side on me. And then I used my Milani blush. I am glad that I went in with the powder because I'd also put it over the foundation over my eyelids, and without thinking about it, I went to start to put some eyeshadow on and it just like clung right where I put it, and I thought, oh okay, so I wiped that off a little bit, put some eye primer on, and then went in and did my eye makeup. So if you are using this, you do need to powder on top of it if it hasn't set yet, so that the powder doesn't grab onto it or do anything funny. So I feel like it's looking really good. The only thing I can say is that it feels like it looks like it might start to get heavy in my pore area right here. Now I don't have any kind of pore filling primer or anything on, which might make a difference, which I will be testing later. But for now, it's a little bit on the lighter side that I would like, but that's a shade match issue, not a formula issue. So I'm going to go about my day, go off to work. I'm hoping, like, I'm walking to work and it's like a 15 to 20 minute walk, and it looks like it might rain, and it also looks like it's humid out. So we're really going to be putting this to the test to see how it is holding up today. And I will do my best to try to do check-ins throughout the day when I'm at work. Bye. Hey guys, it is the end of the day. It is currently, I'm going to say about 5 o'clock. 4:59, I was right. I put this on originally at about 7:30 a.m. this morning, and I really do apologize for the lack of check-ins. It was meetings against meetings against meetings all day, and I just didn't get a chance to film, but I was looking closely at my skin and how this was performing through the day, so I do have thoughts. I have many thoughts. I'm also going to zoom you in and show you what this looks like. I have mentioned this before. There is a slightly blurring skin filter on my camera. It came set up that way. I think I probably can turn it off, but just for a number of reasons, I don't right now, but I do try to zoom you in and show you how things look close up, because if I zoom in or put my hand over part of my face or something like that, it will take away some of the skin blurring effects. And I am not thrilled with this foundation. It is doing not nice things to my face. So let me zoom you in and I will talk you through it. First of all, let me just do this thing I was doing there where it takes off the blurring filter. My face looks weirdly patchy and red. Like, I had sunglasses on, which is why it's red there, but I swear there's like red spots up here. They aren't usually there. I look blotchy. I'm just looking blotchier than I usually do. So let's zoom in for extra fun. I feel, just to start with, so incredibly shiny. Like it's like thick with oil in like this part of my face and this part of my face and around my nose. Like, it doesn't necessarily look like it's cakey or heavy, but it feels like it, and it looks shiny. And I'm zooming in super close here. It's doing that thing that I hate where it has rubbed off on my skin, but filled in my pores so that my pores look more visible with this product than they normally do. Here's some of the weird red patchiness that I'm seeing. I look a little redder than usual on my cheeks, and as I was saying, it just feels like heavy, heavy, heavy. So here's what I'm going to do. At this point in time, I am not thrilled with this. They say that it doesn't emphasize pores, and it does. It is supposed to be matte, and this is really shiny on me because it makes my face like oily. I sometimes, but don't usually have like oils that come through like this. My face doesn't usually feel this heavy with oil, but that's what it's making it do. So I really want to get this washed off my face because I'm not, like, now I feel like I can touch it a bit because I've done the check-in, but oh, it feels so heavy and greasy on my face. Now, to be fair, I did not use a primer with this because I want to do my first impression without a primer, and I did a very light dusting of powder on top. So I am going to continue trying this with pore filling primers, with different kinds of primers, with maybe some of my matte, Stay Matte Rimmel Stay Matte, how many times can I say matte, product on top to see what that looks like. I really want this to work. It looked quite nice at the start of the day, but it was only about 3 hours into the day when it started really emphasizing and moving into those pores. And I went to the washroom at work, and the washroom at work is one of those great mirrors that usually makes you look really good no matter how you're looking. It's got like the light set up in like an indirect way where it just, usually I look in that mirror and think, yeah, I'm looking good today. And I went to the washroom 3 hours into my work day and looked and thought, oh my God, what's happening with my face? So that is my end of day check-in on my first impression day. And I am sure future Melissa will be back to give you final thoughts on what worked and what didn't. So that was obviously not a great first impression. And this is why it's important to not just do first impressions, because after that day, I actually looked up Sephora Canada's return policy. I've never returned a product to Sephora before, but it was such an expensive product and it just did so poorly on that day. I was just trying to figure out maybe I should get my money back for it. But I wanted to test it further, as I said I would, with different primers, different powders, different ways of applying. And on the second day, something amazing happened. Like, that might be overselling it a bit, but I had decided to use a couple different primers. On one side of my face, I used the Porefessional to see if I could fill up some of the pores a little bit. And on the other side of my face, I used my Cover FX Matte Acne Fighting primer, which is one of my go-to ones. I quite like it. And then I applied it with a beauty blender, and I applied so much less that time. I probably used about 1/3 as much product, concentrated it in the middle of my face, and just tapped and blended it out with the beauty blender. And then I used my under eye concealer, set that with a little bit of powder, and then my phone rang, so I ran off to get my phone. Chatted on the phone for a little bit, maybe 10 minutes or so, and then went back and sat down in front of my mirror, which is natural light coming in, and I looked and thought, oh my God, why I had no pores. It was the smoothest I have ever seen my skin in this area right here, and I thought, like, what is doing that? Like, it's not the primer, because the primer is all over. And then I realized that it was where I had powdered, and the magic happens for me with this foundation when I press a pressed powder onto my skin afterwards. I'm going to zoom in right now and show you what my skin looks like right now in the area that usually gets where I have all of my pores. I'm just going to show you. So that is zoomed right in, and can you see how smooth that looks? For me, this is the most poreless I have ever looked. So I powdered all over, and I will say that because on the first day I used so much of it, it didn't really set. But on the second day, it felt like it had set down to a more powdery finish before I powdered my face. I put everything else on top of it, my bronzer, my blush, all that kind of thing, and went off for my day. And what I did that day, and I'll also show you the powder that I used this e.l.f. powder, which does not have the name on it, but it is the sort of illuminating powder quad with the 4 different colors in here that all sort of swirl together to just make a translucent brightening powder. This is what I used that just made the magic happen on my face. So that day I was walking to go get my hair done, and it's like a 45-minute walk. My car is broken, which is an entirely other story. So I was walking in humid weather to go get my hair done. So I took this along with me, along with a slightly dampened Real Technique sponge, and I was wearing sunglasses. And along the walk, it was so humid, but I found when I stopped, I took my sunglasses off, and I was literally drops of sweat coming from where the nose pieces were. Sorry, that's gross. But I was able to take the sponge, once I had wiped the sweat away, and sort of pat over top, and it just all smoothed back to the way it was. I would say for about 5 to 6 hours looking at my face, even walking in that humid heat, it was looking good, like really good. It started to feel a little heavy at about the 6-hour mark. but everything was looking really good. I think what happened on that first impression day was a few things that all made it not go well. I put on far too much of it to start with because I was not expecting it to be the full coverage foundation that it was. I powdered it with a powder that did not play well with it. I showed you in that first impression that I was using the Bare Minerals powder, and it's a pressed powder, but it's one that I pick up with a dense brush and then sort of press in. And I think when I was doing that with the brush, I may have moved around and made it blotchy, which you saw towards the end of the day. And then also that was a day when, again, I was walking in humid, rainy weather, and I'm pretty sure when I got to work, I was using sort of a Kleenex to sort of blot my face a little bit since I had perspired a little. And I think that may have not played well. And I wasn't wearing a primer or anything like that. So I think just everything came together that day to not make it behave very well. I did still find on the days when I've worn it and it has worked well, and I did find, by the way, that the side with the mattifying primer was better for me. The pore filling primer was fine, but the mattifying primer was better. Still at about the 6 or 7 hour mark, it was getting to the point where it was doing that thing where it was moving into my pores a little bit. So I do find that it does that. This is a foundation, in my opinion, that makes you look flawless while it lasts, but it's not going to be like a 16-hour foundation for my skin, but it's going to look really beautiful for like the first 5 to 6 hours. It does start to feel a little heavy in your T-zone when your skin starts to get a little bit oily. It does start to feel heavy in those areas. If you bring along powder to powder with or some blotting papers, that helps quite a bit. So let me tell you the pros and cons of this foundation so you can decide if this is something that you want to try for yourself. On the pro side, I have never seen my skin look this flawless and blurred and just diffused, beautiful, beautiful looking, ever. So that is definitely a pro. I do not have a super amount of acne or texture or anything to cover. I tend towards less high coverage foundations because I'm more trying to even out skin tone than I am trying to cover anything. But I think if you are trying to cover things and you like a high coverage foundation, that this is going to work well for you. It really does smooth and blur and cover in an amazing way. I think if you have skin that is maybe more on the dry side, this would be nice and moisturizing for you. I don't think it's bad for people who are oily, but you are going to start getting that sort of heavy T-zone feeling maybe a little bit earlier than somebody with normal to dry skin. This does not cake at all. Even when it was starting to feel heavy and like it was collecting my oil a little bit, it did not get clumpy or gross around my nose. It didn't separate at all in any way, even when it was getting oily. If you look at what's not so great about this foundation is it does start to feel heavy and oily after a while. If that's a feeling you don't like it really feels like if you touch your face, especially when it starts to be there for 4 or 5 hours or so, that everything's going to sort of move and slide around. It's not that great of a feeling. If you need a foundation that lasts you, 12 to 16 hours, in my opinion, this is not going to be it. All of our faces react differently to products, so, you're gonna have to test it yourself. And that leads into my next point, which is if you live somewhere near a Sephora where you can get samples of this, go in and get color matched because I did have trouble. This is a little bit light on my skin, as you saw in that first impression. I can make it work, but it's a little bit lighter than I would like. I had a hard time guessing. So either go and get a sample or color match to your skin, or do some really good searching online for colors that are foundations that you know the color of. Swatch next to this one just so you can understand it a little bit more. The final con is the price. I do think this is overpriced. I would much prefer if this was, $30 US and $40 Canadian, or heck, I would prefer it to be cheaper than that. But I understand that it is, at a certain level of pricing, but it is getting up there in price. And I think it's a little on the overpriced side. For me, this is going to be my go-to special event foundation. I am especially looking forward to using this in the winter when my skin is a little bit drier and a little bit paler, and I think it's going to do really nice things for my skin, especially then. But this is going to be not necessarily an everyday foundation for me because I don't need this kind of coverage, but if I'm going to something that's a 3 or 4 hour event and want to look flawless, this is what I'm going for. So I hope you enjoyed my review today. I hope you found it informative and balanced and give you the information that you need to know to decide if this might be a foundation that you would like. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. That lets me know that you are watching and liking my videos. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel but you want to, click on my face. It will appear right here, so you can subscribe to me, and I'll put one of my older videos right here. I look forward to seeing you in my next video, and have a wonderful day. Bye.